everyone, and welcome back to Pima Voices. My name is Savannah, and I'll be your host. Today, I'm sitting down with Shane Peidl, who is a forward asset instructional faculty at Pima Community College within the automotive technology program. And today, we're going to talk about how when you connect with community businesses, it can lead to student success. How are you today, Shane?
Very well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. And thank you so much for coming in today and wanting to talk about the great things that are happening within the automotive program. And I know we just talked about how we kind of hear that people don't even know that there's an automotive program.
Right?
Yeah, which is so wild to me. I'm like, they have a brand awesome new spanking building you can see from the freeway. Like, I do not know. So this is a great chance to kind of showcase that a little better and maybe introduce people to it a little bit better and kind of give everyone a little bit more of an understanding of what goes on there and just like the great opportunity that exists within the automotive program.
Wonderful.
So before we get started, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, what the Forward Asset program kind of is, and like your role as the instructional faculty there at Pima.
Sure. Asset is a three-way partnership between Ford Motor Company, Pima Community College, and their network of dealer franchises. Ultimately, we're one of 41 asset programs spread throughout the country at different colleges. And really simply put, we train people to become certified Ford and Lincoln dealership technicians. And we also help employ them in that capacity. I came here in 2022. I'm one of two full-time faculty members in the Ford Asset program that are responsible for the development and delivery of it. In 2021, I was in like my 10th year as the director of a high-performing asset program at a different community college, actually my hometown community college.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was fun. And I got a call from Ford Motor Company because they were like, hey, we're starting a new asset program in Tucson, and they could use some advice and guidance and just general help. Would you be willing to provide that? And I, of course, was flattered that they would ask. And so I did so. But, you know, the more I learned about Pima College and the Tucson community, my lovely wife and I considered, man, what if we start a new life adventure in Southern Arizona? So in 2022, when the position for asset instructor was posted, I applied, and a couple of months later, a family and I made the big leap, and I immediately began the process of building the Ford Asset program here.
And where's your hometown?
Mahomet, Illinois, which is east central. It's kind of outside a university town called Champaign-Urbana. It's farm country, Illinois.
A little different in weather terms.
Very
here.
different. Oh, I love it.
I was gonna say, how do you like the winter?
Love
It's
it. Wish
great,
I'd have come here
right?
many years ago. So it's wonderful.
I always love hearing where people come from, especially when it's something like you have like Illinois is very cold in the winter. It snows, and
Especially
then
right
here
now,
you're
yeah.
just like, we're in a t-shirt. Like,
Oh, yeah. We're never leaving. I love it. And actually, my parents followed me out here. I've got other family members that moved out here. So home is now Tucson, Arizona.
So you're like the advocate for Tucson. You're like the poster child right now. You're like,
Love
hey,
it.
come to Tucson.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's gorgeous. I've never lived in a place where they made like calendars of beautiful scenery, you know? And so now I'm just like, wow, I look, you know, out my window and, you know, see beautiful mountains and saguaro cactus. It's gorgeous.
Well, we're lucky to have you here at Pima Community College. And then, so we said the Ford Asset kind of partners with different things, and it kind of helps train them to get ready to work at the dealerships and the environment. So what makes it different than like a traditional like automotive program? Like, what's so special about the Ford Asset program?
Well, there's kind of three distinctions. The first would be our desired outcome. So, you know, many traditional automotive technology programs attempt to prepare their students for a variety of career entry, whether it be like an independent shop technician, a service advisor, an insurance adjuster, parts counter people. They're universal in that nature, whereas Asset is laser focused on developing Ford and Lincoln dealership technicians. So we've got kind of this direct laser goal and, you know, focus on that goal. Another distinction is the work experience. So for whatever reason, it's unusual for auto tech programs to require industry work experience as part of that program. Some do, but not all. And we just kind of think it's, undesirable and suboptimal to have someone learn a skilled trade only through institutionalized formal instruction. But the other side of that coin is that it's equally suboptimal to only have it through informal on-the-job training. So by combining the two, I think we sort of maximize the strengths and minimize the weaknesses of either of those two binary options, right? So the Ford Asset Program combines formal institutional instruction with paid apprenticeships. And so the third difference with the asset program is that we provide Ford's technician certifications in conjunction with their comprehensive auto education. So, at the 21-month conclusion of the program, our students should have a well-rounded knowledge in automotive technology. They should have an associate's degree in applied science. They'll have a year's worth of cumulative work experience at a dealership as a service technician. And every single Ford certification that Ford Motor Company offers. And ideally, and this is sort of the goal, is that they've got a post-college career sort of waiting for them when they're done.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I wish there was a way that more programs can implement working directly in the industry as part of your curriculum, because that's something that's done with the Ford Asset, right? They spend X amount of weeks in the classroom with that curriculum. Then they spend X amount of weeks at the dealership working there. That you said it's like that paid apprenticeship. And then they go back to the classroom, right? And then they go back in there. So there's this back and forth where they're in the classroom, but also already in a working environment. So they're potentially already working for that company, and they're ready to go once they're completely done with their program at Pima.
Yeah, and they're not just cut loose either. They're working with various experts at the dealership to, help them along. So, no, it's wonderful, and the work experience thing is probably the most beneficial part of it.
Yeah, because that's also a really hard thing when you're done with school, right? Is people are like, oh, 2+ years experience. You're like, but I just finished school. How can I get a job? Give me a shot, I promise, and then I can have that experience.
It's that age-old catch-22 of how do I get a job without experience, and how do I get experience without a job? And they're learning on the job. They're even putting money in their pocket because obviously going to college is a difficult thing financially for basically everybody, and so. Yeah, it's just, I think, sort of silly that such workplace and, school environments aren't more directly attached.
Yes, and you guys are saying a really good example with this Ford Asset Program and how successful it can be, because these students, most of them already have a job, like you said, waiting for them when they're done with the program, because they're already been doing that apprenticeship with that dealership, and usually they can get a job with that dealership that they had the apprenticeship
100%. I mean, that's really the interest for the dealer to participate in this. I was trying to think of whether or not I wanted to mention this later, but it's really scary. And I recall this. Look, I mean, my first word wasn't mama or dad. It was car. But I didn't. my father's a surveyor. My mother's a nurse. I didn't have an Uncle Joe with a hot rod to kind of teach me how things worked, but automobiles have been my primary interest since as far as I can remember. I still to this day love the smell of gasoline and burnt rubber. I mean, it's a visceral weird thing, admittedly, but most people like myself realize that this is an interest and I should explore it as a career option. And I had to kind of learn everything on my own and go to school full time, and then you had to pay for your own tools, right? So I had to invest a bunch of time and money in college. I had to invest a bunch of time or money in tools. Then I had to kind of go out and on my own merits find a job, and then hope that once I started the job, I hope I didn't make a big mistake,
Yes.
And so that's a scary reality, unfortunately, for a lot of people in any trades training program. And I think this is why high school apprenticeships are so important. And this is why I'm really grateful to work so closely with SARE Jobs for Progress here in Tucson. And it's particularly weird in the auto sector because the insurance companies, or the insurance that these dealership shops are required to maintain, makes it virtually impossible for them to hire minors in the shop environment. It's a liability danger issue, I'm sure, but that's what makes it difficult for dealerships to hire people that are in high school, that maybe they're taking high school automotive, they've got an interest in the career, they want to check it out before they turn 18, and the pressure and the commitment to make a decision and run with it. So by virtue of these high school apprenticeships administered through SARE, we're able to expose these high school students to the career before they have to turn 18 and,
make a life choice.
Yeah, a huge life decision.
Yes.
So, it's wonderful to not only allow people to participate in the workforce while they're going to school, but also, when you're young, you just don't know what you want to do. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that,
Yeah, I agree. I think it can be really hard to make that decision. I think a lot of times people from high school will come into college like undeclared because they don't really know what they want to do, or they're just taking general studies to get it started, but they don't know where that path is supposed to lead. I always give the example, I started off in criminal justice, somehow I ended up in fashion, and now I'm in marketing. So it's like a complete different change of cycles, and like your interests change as you get older. Some people, they know their passion from the get-go. You're a really great example of that. You knew your passion from the get-go, and you knew what you really liked and you really loved. And other times people, they really love something, but then they get into it and they're like, oh, this is actually not what I'm prepared for, or what I actually thought it was going to be.
Well, even just the automobile thing, right? Like, look, loving automobiles, having an interest in how they work, and tinkering with them as a hobby is completely different than working on someone else's car all day long. So, the asset program is great, but it's not for everybody. And this is another reason why, like, you probably along the way discovered new things that you wanted to explore. And it was by virtue of that exposure that you thought, I want to go check this out. And really, I think that's what we need to focus on at the secondary level, is exposing young people to options, because how are they supposed to have an idea of how to exercise an interest if they don't know what the different options are, So, yeah.
Well, I think that also ties into the success of like students, right? Like, and having them finish a program or a degree, graduating, getting a job, all that stuff that we kind of look for in the data side of like a college is like, how do we make sure people kind of finish their schooling and get a job after? And so like, if they aren't really getting exposed to it and they start learning and understand that they don't want to, or maybe they finish a program and then they get a job and then they have to come back to school because they realize they didn't like it, and so forth. And so this is that really nice blend, so people can really understand, like, this is what I want to do. This makes sense, and I enjoy it. And you spoke of like when you went to school, financially having to get all your tools and everything. And so one thing that Pima Foundation, this Forward Asset Program kind of do together and partners with Jim Click Automotive, right, is that the financial support is there for those students, and it's with the help of that partnership with Jim Click, correct?
100%. Yeah. So the Jim Click team is great. They've identified a couple of really crucial pieces of help for their students. The first of which is that they've, in conjunction with their efforts with the Pima Foundation, been able to cover all of the educational expenses for our students. They've also assisted us with the recruitment efforts as well. And, although there's financial aid available for a lot of students, it's dependent on, your family's, financial situation. And so what they've been able to do is make sure that they can fill our students or fill our classes with the best students, regardless of their financial situation. And also, you kind of touched on the fact that they do these 8-week stints in the classroom and then 8 weeks at the dealership. Well, that's 8 weeks while they're in the classroom that they can't really earn an income. And so, depending on how their lives have adjusted to having that stream of income, it gets really tight while they're in school. And, we've got some that live, on the South Side. They got to far drive and whatnot. It's a lot of gas expense. So Jim Click has also worked with, in the Pima Foundation, have worked with a third-party foundation to provide them some financial assistance, while they're in class. It's a really cool program called Earn to Learn, where they save money, and then there's foundations which sort of match that. And the whole Earn to Learn program is focused around sort of fiscal awareness, maturity, responsibility. And so, even while they're in class, our students get a little bit of money to help, the vicissitudes of life.
Yes, and that's like so phenomenal, because that's such a rare thing to see sometimes, is having that support for students to like have that financial barrier of the class be covered. And it's like, oh, that's one less thing you have to worry about, being a student, being an adult, no matter if they're 18, 19, or maybe they're a little bit older or anything. Because that's the other thing about the community college, is there's so many different various age groups, and just the cost of education is such a stress sometimes for people. To eliminate that is like
100%
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, look, the asset program at Pima is quite affordable, and a lot of community colleges are lauded for their price point and affordability. Pima's no exception. However, the student loan debt thing is kind of out of control, in my opinion. And I've always sort of been like, look, even though it's not a lot of money, let's try to figure out a way for you to do this without loans. I think, after all their hard work and they go to work and start making money, it's kind of not great if they have to spend all that money to
pay it back. Yeah.
So, even at my other community college, when we didn't have a partner that was so generous and that was so ubiquitous as like Jim Click, but, there are a bunch of different ways to get through this program without taking out student loans if you're not eligible for Pell Grant and some of these other scholarships. Even at the worst case scenario, the earnings that they are projected to get during their work sessions in the asset program exceed the cost of the program. So, even if they just live at home with mom and dad, don't have to pay rent, hopefully, right? Don't spend all your money on turbos and video games and stuff like that.
Take out.
If you save the money that you earn while you're working in the dealer for school, you can pay for the school. So, our my goal has always been to try to figure out a way to make this work for everybody, especially without requiring them to take out student loans. And we're certainly able to do that with spades with this arrangement with Click and the Pima Foundation. It's wonderful.
And I talked to Kate from Earn and Learn a while ago, and like I kept telling her, like, I wish things like this was brought up more in like high school, like financial education, because I feel like a lot of times you're not really told like what the cost truly is of getting an education, whether it is at a community college or at a university, or if you're going to start at a community college and then go to university. Like, that's years and years of income that you have to find to pay for your education. And so I just like applauded her for bringing this program to life and then implementing it all across the country and expanding and going to Congress and this and that, because I just don't think there's enough information about the whole financial situation. And so then, like you said, students are taking out student loans and they don't understand maybe how it works. And so having that education of, oh, this is what maybe you could do with your finances to have financial stability
100%
at a young age is so important. And it's such a vital thing that I think could be implemented a lot more within education at an earlier
100%.
age.
Like, I'm a father. My son recently went to NAU, so we dropped him off there. And I recall several times realizing that I had to explain to him how a mortgage works, how a loan works, how taxes work. Yeah, there's some kind of normal life fundamentals that we're really not addressing at the high school level. But look, they've got a difficult job and a lot of things to prepare students for. You can't do it
Maybe
all.
one day there'll be a class specifically implemented for that. That's like required, like how driver's ed used to be required, but I don't think it kind of is anymore. But like maybe that's a required class, like a financial education class, right?
Yeah, I wish a lot of high schools would focus more on, preparing their graduates for life in the world and less so for a 4-year university for a topic that they're not even sure they want to study yet. My high school was like that. They were really high quality. I don't have any really complaints about my high school, but we didn't have automotive in my high school. They just got rid of wood shop around the time that I started,
I love wood shop.
I got a year or so out of it. It was great. But, I remember being like a senior and a colleague was like, well, I'm out of here after lunch. And I'm like, oh, man, why are you leaving early? He says, well, I'm taking dual credit at the community college and I'm going there and working on cars. And I get credit for both college and high school and I get to play with cars. And I'm like, how come nobody told me about that? I'm sure they did. I'm sure I missed a newsletter or something. This is before email, right? So I'm sure it was a piece of paper in a folder that I
You're just
read.
I just threw that in my bag.
But yeah, but man, in hindsight, I could have acquired so much value from that same information. And yeah, we're all doing the best we can. Right?
That's always it, right? We're just surviving day by day. We're doing the best. But I think that's a really great thing about Pima Community College is everyone here is always striving to serve students in the best way that they possibly can. I mean, you shared and how you talked about even at your previous job and your role there, like how can we have students complete programs without taking out all this loan and debt? And so we tend to see that faculty and staff, administration just really do have the best interests of the students. And then we can find those community partners that believe in that same philosophy as well. Like, how can we help? We see that it's a full circle moment. Like, if we help these students, they could get a job in our business. They could keep our business going. Like, it's just like we all are helping each other in this little cycle and keeping Tucson and the community thriving. And I think that's what I see a lot when I talk to people is we all have very similar passions and we all see that in the community in these little pockets here and there. And hopefully that'll continue to grow.
Yeah, every learner, every day, every goal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and you guys are doing such a great job. And like I said, I think the Forward Asset Program and just automotive technology is just like so cool. And every time I go check out a different program, I'm like, oh, do I need to go back to school and do something else? Like, I just want to learn everything all the time because it's just so fascinating. All the things like the progress that I've seen, because I came to Pima, I first started in 2012, but like there's been so much progress and change for good at Pima, and we've had so much advancement in technology and just in curriculum that there's just so many different opportunities here, and this is just one of many great things that are being offered to students. Right?
Agreed. Yeah, and it's fun to see the changes at downtown campus because when I came here, that building was about a year old, perhaps, right? But the manufacturing facility was just sort of getting off the ground, and so I don't have a whole lot of like before memories to compare to the after, but from the photos I've seen and from what I've heard,
it's awesome.
Yes, and there's no doubt. Like, I mean, the toy box we get to work in is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's state of industry. It's chock full of a bunch of brand new vehicles and tech and equipment, and I feel spoiled in that regard, but
in a good way.
Yeah, but we're doing students a disservice if the technology and the equipment and the stuff that supports their job is better at the dealer than what we expose them to. You know what I mean? We can't be antiquated. We've got to remain state of industry, and especially in an industrial and workforce tech like auto. And so yeah, it's great.
Well, I think you guys are doing a great job, and I can only imagine it's going to get even better from here on out, right? Because you can only go up.
Yeah.
And so before we end our session today, was there anything that you wanted to share with the community, potential students who wanted to get into the automotive program, anything to possible future partnerships that you're seeking with businesses, like just anything at all that you think one of those people or every one of those people should hear?
Well, if you want to get started with the Forward Asset Program, reach out to myself or my partner, Chris. If you live here in Tucson, the dealer that you're likely going to want to commute to and work at is going to be Jim Click. So, definitely reach out to them and apply. And, I can help make those connections, right, between your interest in working at Click and your interest in joining the asset program. As far as plans are concerned, as far as I'm concerned, the asset program is not quite finished being built. We're still lacking a couple of resources and, both physical and institutional. But when it'll be finished soon. But when it is, the growth is the next step, and we've got to kind of scale outward from Tucson. And thankfully, my experience at the previous asset program has sort of allowed me to know what I got to do to tackle that. Most or an equal number of in-town students. We had out-of-town students. I had students that were like 6 hours away.
Oh gosh.
And one of the geographic anomalies out here in the Southwest is we've got huge wide open spaces that don't have a whole lot of towns and communities and stuff in them. So there's really only 2 asset programs in the Southwest, us, and there's another one up in Phoenix. And, but there's 100 dealerships between Nevada and Utah and Arizona that don't have an option like Ford Asset. And so, I think that I want to build the biggest and best asset program in the nation. And in order for us to do that, we're going to have to serve dealerships that aren't in, these metropolitan areas with a asset program in their backyard. And that's going to create a whole new set of challenges. But, again, I'm eager to attack them because it's something I've done in the past. So can't give away all my secrets, but yeah, we've already started laying the groundwork for that, and that excites me. One of my one of my favorite questions that you sent me, if I may.
Yes, of course.
Let's see here. It was right at the end. What does it mean to me personally to teach in a program that changes lives so directly? The relationships and the rapport that we've got with our students is truly like the best part of it. They're in cohorts. They are in the same classes all day, every day with each other. It's fun to watch their relationships develop, and they kind of, start as strangers and leave as compadres. And it's just it's a wonderful thing to kind of view, from the outside. But, I could go on for hours of like all of the tear-soaked hugs I've gotten from grateful parents, or, wedding invitations, baby photos, new homeowner photos. It's the good stuff. And, I wouldn't trade it for all the gold in California. It's the best part of the job. A notable example comes to mind. I got a former student, now friend. He graduated in 2017, I believe. I met him in 2015 when I was recruiting at his hometown high school in Indiana. And he went through the program, successful, did really good. He stayed at the dealership for maybe 3 or 4 years, and then decided, well, I want to join the Marine Corps and kind of start over in San Diego. And I was like, wow, that's bold and scary, but, God bless you, man, And so, look, we kind of kept in touch, talking about life in general, Mustang projects, right?
Yeah.
Playing with cars. And when shortly after we moved to Tucson, he reached out and he says, well, I drive through Tucson when I go back home to Indiana to visit. If you ever want to get together and catch up, and I was like, sure. So a couple weeks later, here I am across from this beast of a Marine who's now in his 30s, and we're in awe of one of our incredible Tucson sunsets, just laughing, having a good laugh, reminiscing. My wife's preparing our guest room for him to stay, as a leg on his journey across the country. And even just a couple of months ago, I got a phone call from a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier from some undisclosed location in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. I just thought, this is the coolest thing ever. so many of those examples. Like I've worked with asset grads from different schools when I was with Ford Motor Company. I even hired an asset grad from my previous college to be my partner. It's cool that we get to spend so much time together over the 2 years that they're in this program. And it's also cool because, I'll continue working with that dealership for other students. And so, of course, every time I go back there, it's a longer visit because I got to shake more hands and give more pats on the back and catch up on all the fun life events for more people every time. And so, look, the nerdery and the geekery that we do with the asset program is sort of like an exercise of my own interest, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love doing this. Love the technology. But yeah, the older I get, the more I realize that the most valuable part of it is working with these people and helping them, make their lives materialize into something better than what they probably thought was possible. I've seen some students earn a 6-figure income, like especially the ones that are like underprivileged, and they never would have thought that this lifestyle was within grasp before they got started. And so I've seen them a couple of cases make 6 figures before they were even old enough to buy a beer. I had
It's
one.
always a great thing.
It's crazy. I had a student that wanted to rent a car. He went on a vacation, wanted to rent a car. He's like, I can't rent a car. I'm under 25, but I could buy every car on this lot, any of the cars on this lot if I wanted to. I just thought, there you go.
That's a good mindset right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's the American dream, right? Like they gain a little weight, become a spouse, have children, buy a nice car, probably for the first time in their life, buy a home. What else is a career for? It should, tickle your interests and provide you the means for the real stuff in life. And so, oh my goodness. If we were just showing people how the technology worked, but not helping them into that phase of life, it wouldn't be the same. So,
well, I can hear a lot of passion in your voice, and I think that's what makes, like I said, many of the people here, you and many instructional faculty here at Pima is the belief and passion that you have. And I think you are really setting a great example for others. You are pushing people through a really weird time in their life where they're trying to discover their career and figure out what they want to do in life and growing up. And it is kind of just like a big part of their life, and you're part of that, and you're part of that story and many stories. And it's just so lovely to hear like the growth that has come from students and the end results. And I've been at the cohort graduations, 2 of them now, and you can just see like their little family, and they're all like together, and they're all so cute, and they're just like very excited. And then you see the new ones come in and that group, and then you're just like, it's just like in a very exciting moment. And you just know in those moments, like, I'm doing the right thing, which is like what we kind of feel at the office a lot. We talk about like we're not always on campus and seeing students and interacting with people who are at district office. But then I sit down here, or we attend graduation ceremonies or check out a tour of a program or a facility. And we realize like, yeah, this is exactly why we're doing what we're doing, and partnering with every program here at Pima to try to bring access to education to students and continue giving access to education to students, and helping programs develop more and get what they need. And it's just like that wonderful, you can't describe it. It's just a wonderful moment, and it's heartwarming. And like I said, you can't describe it. You feel it, and you feel it in those moments there. So.
Yeah, well said. It's definitely a felt thing. I can still feel a lump in my throat from speaking at the last little graduation event we had for our students. It's one of my favorite quotes from our uncle Henry Ford is, let me see if I can recall it without reading it. If money is your hope for independence, you will never have it. For the only real security that a man has in this life is a reserve of knowledge, experience, and ability. And I really couldn't agree with that anymore. I feel like if we provide our students with knowledge, experience, and ability, they will become truly independent, and the money that they wish to have to support their life goals and their lifestyle will inevitably follow. And yeah, it's a privilege to be a part of this, and a joy to be here with you today.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being a part of the college and enacting change, instilling student success and just growth. And like I said, there's a lot of great things coming out of many programs. Yours is one of them. The Forward Asset is such a phenomenal opportunity for students. And I can't wait to see all your secrets come out into the open.
Invite me back in about a year and there'll be some real exciting stuff to talk about.
For sure. And I'll be like, yeah, remember last time you were here? Spill those secrets.
Hold me to it. You got it.
So thank you again for coming in today and sharing a little bit more. If students want to know more about the program, I'll link information to get in touch with the right people. If there are dealerships or businesses in town that want to get a chance to see how they can partner up with Shane and his team with the Forward Asset program, we'll definitely put you in touch with Shane and have you guys have that conversation. So thank you for tuning in today's episode, and I'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.